Hey, welcome back to That 70s Card Show. I am John Keating, and I am here to talk to you and with you about the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby as we take a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s Card Show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment or suggestion, or you just want to say, hey girl, I urge you to drop me a line at that70scardShow at gmail.com, 70s Card on Twitter, or that 70s Card Show on YouTube. This is episode 63, and we are calling this Decade. Why are we calling it a decade? We'll find out about that in a few minutes. Decade was an album by Neil Young released in 1977. We talked a little bit about Neil Young last year, and Decade was essentially his greatest hits album for the first 10 years of his career. Included Buffalo Springfield Stuff. I bet you didn't know he was in there. Maybe you did know. That was the first time he was, or one of the three bands he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Great songs on that album, from that up to his solo act to the Crazy Horse set, all that stuff. I believe there were 6 sides total on his album. And it contains all the hits, everything you can dance to, like Needle and the Damage Done. You can shake your booty to Down by the River. And, of course, the celebration song, Southern Man. Southern Man, Don't Need You Around Anyhow, was what Leonard Skinner said to Neil Young after Southern Man and Alabama were released in the early 70s. Turns out Neil and Leonard Skinner were actually pals, I believe. And Neil wrote what I consider my favorite Neil Young song, Powderfinger. He wrote that for the boys and gals and Leonard Skinner. They never did record it. Of course, they burned out and they did not fade away. So great song, Powderfinger. My preference is from the album Weld, a live album released in the 92 season. So check that out. Now, why are we calling this the Decade album? Well, there's a guy in Hawaii that his parents thought he might be a little challenged, so they gave him first initials and last initials the same, and he is Double D. Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. We love him. We know him. The most energetic lad in the business. Great collection I admire. A spirit for the hobby that I admire. So a little while back here, it says right there on my screen, 4 weeks ago, Dylan, Double D Vintage Cards, said, just listen to your podcast. Great episode. I have a request for a future episode. I know you have pointed out your favorite cards in the 70s during each episode, but I would love to see them all in one episode. From 1970 to 79 tops, your single favorite card in each, if that's possible to choose. And he gave me a smiley face and a double Chakra Khan on that as well. So, Dylan, this episode is for you. We'll get into this here in a minute or so. The Things You Do for Love. Remember 10cc? Great song back then. Talk about dancing and shaking your booty. The Things You Do for Love. My wife, I've been married for 32 years, and she was a professional dancer. And every now and then when I was home from the road, she'd make me drive her little cast of characters around to various promotional activities. Later on in life, after retiring from dancing, she opened a dance studio, asked me to do crazy things like make balloon animals at birthday parties, which I never did do. And I used to do the lighting and sound for her dance recitals, which, boy, what a pain in the buns that was, but all done for love, right? Well, my wife has come up with this new scheme, and she is an activities coordinator for a senior assisted living facility. She loves her job. She gets to do all sorts of fun stuff, yoga and stretching and calisthenics and all sorts of stuff with her, the residents there. And she rarely comes home from work in anything other than a tremendous mood. So she loves her job. But I think she's gone too far this time. I'm going to pop up on my screen. My wife, without my true written consent, decided to book me on I believe it's October 3rd. She's having me. The page here says September 19th, but that's not happening because that was last week. But I'm apparently going to give a baseball trivia with John Keating of 70s Card Show, baseball card trivia thing there at her senior assisted facility. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure it'll be fun. Hopefully, I can learn a little bit from some of the residents that are there, and we can talk about baseball and baseball cards from back in the day. So, I love you, woman, but man, we got to stop this stuff soon, for sure. If you are awake at the end of the show, I'm going to do my first ever giveaway. Okay, giveaway. You say? I say giveaway. There's the thing that goes around the internet's YouTube, a virtual recording or something like that, shouting out to different channels and stuff like that. So I'm going to do one of those things here at the end of the episode. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. I would never do it unless something awoke me in the middle of the night and made me giggle, and this woke me up in the middle of the night and made me giggle. So let's get on to the cards, shall we? So a while back, I believe in early 2022, I was invited on Mike, This Baseball Card Life, and Ray from Philly. They did a series on different decades, and they had me along for the 70s, which I thought was awesome. So I made a tremendous amount of notes. I still have them with me. I listed some of my favorite cards from the set. So in my mind, I thought, well, let me go back through these cards and see how I feel nearly 9 months or perhaps 9 months later. So I'm going to show you the cards I think are my favorite cards from each decade in the 1970s. Topps, of course, regular issue. And you may try to throw a flag on me about halfway through this, but I've got some kryptonite for your flag. I mock your flag. So let's start in 1979. 79 will go down as probably my least favorite set of the 70s. Not probably, it is my least favorite set of the 70s. I thought the originality wasn't there anymore. One of my criticisms of the set, as I noted in my episode, was that the rookie cards were all in black and white photos. I don't understand what they were doing there. There were some other pictures in black and white, including Walter Johnson and Hank Aaron and stuff like that, all-time leaders. But boy, the rookie cards in black and white, I don't understand that. So I'm going to tell you what my favorite card currently of the 1979 Topps set is. Back in the day there in January, I, of course, shouted out card number 320, Yaz, card number 610, Mike Schmidt, and there was an all-time strikeout leaders, number 417, Nolan Ryan and Walter Johnson, which would be a couple years later, that would just be Nolan Ryan on that card as he surpassed Walter Johnson. So end of September 2022, I'm going to tell you it is this card right here. It's the Michael Jack Schmidt, number 610. Still my favorite. Mike is in his home. Phillies pinstripes at the batting cage, obviously in spring training, giving a little stink eye to the warm-up pitcher. And the warm-up pitcher may have been Hank King, the batting practice pitcher, and he lives not too far from me if he's still alive. I used to pass his house often, and it had Hank King Baseball Academy out in front. Well, that sign is down now, so either Hank is retired or Hank has passed on, which is unfortunate. Either way, I guess. But, yeah, the 6'10 Mike Schmidt, kind of a purple, little purple on the bottom there. Great shot again of Schmitty, both batting gloves ready to do battle. Back of the card states all the fun stuff there. There's people yelling in the hallway, by the way. It must be in Las Vegas. Yeah, so the back of his card we'll talk a little bit about right here. We're not going to go over the design, but it says he's 6'2", weighs $198, throws right, bats right. He was drafted by the Phillies in the second round, June 1971. Of course, we learned from Jay Daniels' book that he was drafted one pick behind George Brett in that draft. He was acquired via draft, born at 9/27/1949 in Dayton, Ohio, and his home at the time that this card was recorded was West Berlin, New Jersey. Schmitty had broken in 72 with 13 games, and by the time this card came around following the 78 season, he had 190 career home runs and was a career 255 hitter. He was in the process, I guess, of jacking that average up a little bit. Eventually, he'd finish a little higher, I believe. It says in his little blurb, it set record with 17 total bases in an extra inning game, April 17th, 1976. I do believe that was against the Chicago Cubs. Tied National League record with 2 Grand Slammers during the month of June 1973. Hit 308 in the 1976 NL playoffs. So going back to that first line, that game at Chicago, 4 home runs in extra innings. I remember that game very well, actually. So very good stuff. So there is one more thing on the back of that card. It says, what happened May 9th, 1888, like anybody would know that in 1978. It says Giants Roger Connor hit 3 homers and singles in one game. There we go. That's the Mike Schmidt 1979. Incidentally, there is a spitting image of that card that was released by Burger King that same year. Beautiful cards, those Burger King cards. Not quite sure one year, 79 or 80. I think it was 80 had the Burger King logo, but I think 79, they simply numbered them 1 through 24 or whatever this set was. So confusing for those having a low number Schmidt and a high number Schmidt in the same set. Again, the 79 set, as you can see on my 79 baseball card of Mike Schmidt, has the old-fashioned Topps logo. That's the first time that appeared on the front of a card of baseball. So that's that. 79, huh? Let's move on to 78. And I know what you think I'm going to say. And Schmidt was in my top 3 in 79. So let's see the top 3 I called out on Mike and Ray's show in 78. I had George Scott, card number 125. I had Yaz, card number 40, and Thurman Munson, number 60, all worthy cards. But looking back at it again without cheating, George Scott makes the grade there. Old Booma, or Booma, I guess they say up there in Chattertown, looks great leaning against the batting cage wearing that wonderful red Sox helmet with the black and white B. He's in his rubber coat for some reason. Looks a little chilly there where he is, maybe overcast. So Boomer, good to be back with the Red Sox. He spent first part of his career, first 6 seasons in the Red Sox big league team. And of course, he is an impossible dreamer, if you ask our friends Mark Hoyle. And then he was traded to the Brewers in 72. And then 77 came back to the Red Sox. The back of his card says he also was 6'2", and his weight was 210 pounds. He bats right, throws right, and he was signed by the Bo Sox in 1962, prior to the draft. He was acquired this time around by the Brewers on 12/6/76. So he was not acquired in 77. He was acquired for Christmas. Christmas in New England, 12/6/76. He was born 3/23/44 in Greenville, Mississippi, and his home at the time of this card was Boston, Massachusetts. Boomer, 253 home runs at that point, and he was dangerously close to 1,000 RBIs. He had 948. Solid hitter at 271, 1,808 hits, and 860 runs scored. He, by the way, you probably wouldn't know this, but he was a recipient up to this point of 8 Gold Glove Awards at first base. So that's pretty impressive for Booma. And, we think of the big stick there, the 20-plus home run seasons, a couple 30-plus home run seasons. But no, he was also great with that glove. He's got a game on the back there that's 78 tops, and I think games were ridiculous. Play ball, played by 2, ground out, whatever. I don't know of anybody who had enough people to play a game of 2 because I was a loner. So we were pretty solitary. So I got that in my top 3 as well, which was pretty cool. So so far I'm 2 for 2. It's only been 9 months, so how much could my opinion have changed? But cards are always changing in our minds, and pretty cool. And I'm flipping papers because I have my notes in ascending order, and we're going in descending order here. So on to 1977. Boy, what a year that was. Possibly my second least favorite set that year. Hey, Carl Yastrzemski's in my top three at 480. 434 was Yaz, Turn Back the Clock, and 450 was Pete Rose. So, again, without looking at my notes, I chose the Throw Back the Clock, or Turn Back the Clock, I guess it is, card, which was card number 434. And this card reminisces of Carl Michael Yastrzemski's 1967 season, where he was the AL Triple Crown Award winner. It says 10 years ago, 1967 on the back of old card 434. And it's great. It's a billboard with a couple legs holding up and some grass spiking out of the ground there. We love that back of the card design in 1977. Front of the card was a little bland, a little too much white there. So Yastrzemski wins American League Triple Crown. The Boston Red Sox pulled one of the greatest upsets in baseball history by winning the American League 1967 pennant on the final day of the season. Oh boy, what a time to be alive. It was a few months before I was born. The Bo Sox were led by Carl Yastrzemski, who dominated his league as few players had ever done before. Yaz, whose previous high in homers was 20, became a slugger in 1967, belting 44 capital R round trippers, tying him for the junior circuit lead with Twins Harmon Killebrew. Yaz hit 326, toppling his nearest rival by 15 points. His 121 runs batted in were 8 better than the same Mr. Killebrew, and he thus became the 6th player in league history to win the Triple Crown. He finished the season in sensational style with 10 hits in his final 13 at-bats and was unanimous choice for Loop's most valuable player. Now, I know you guys all know this out there, and some of you cool cats and cool kittens. Junior circuit is what they used to call the American League because the National League is older, apparently. Yeah, so that's 77. Again, that landed in my top 3 back in January, and it is my favorite card of this moment of that year. On to 76, okay? 1976, I had whoops. Oh, did we just show that? That was 1975. 1976, I had Dick Allen, Hank Aaron's last card, and Pete Rose again. But I've chosen something else. I've chosen something that qualifies as a regular issue card as it was issued in the packs with the regular cards at the same time. So, of course, I've chosen the 74T card, which is the Oscar Gamble being traded to the Yankees card. It's iconic, really. The afro, the attempt of airbrushing a Yankees logo on there. Oscar's got some pinstripes. Front of the card says Sports Extra, Yankees take gamble on Oscar. Oscar, of course, card 74 was a regular issue card that he is depicted. It's actually a beautiful card. I believe he's swinging fruitlessly at a ball in a action photo taken in his Indians uniform. So back of the card, Sports Extra again. Yankees take gamble on Oscar again. Date line is November 22nd, 1975. And it says the Yankees made a move to bolster their outfield depth when they acquired Oscar Gamble from the Cleveland Indians today in exchange for right fielder, that would be right-hander, Pat Dobson. A strong left-handed hitter, Oscar was used frequently as designated hitter by the tribe and will add punch to NY lineup. Now, kind of the reason I chose a traded card, other than it's completely freaking awesome, picture of Oscar Gamble's hair in a struggle to the death with his cap, is I really dislike the backs of the 1976 cards. I find them hard to read if there's a lot back there. It's just the ink they used. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of black, but not. It's kind of brown, but not. But it's difficult to read for me. So this was a easy choice for the front and the back. Oscar Gamble would be made to shave off those luscious locks, as the team rules said, get your hair cut, boy. So he got his hair cut, and he cut it good. And I believe they say his wife cried when that happened, but Oscar Oscar was nonplussed. I think Oscar knew it would grow back, so not a big deal with Oscar. So that did not make my top three from previous episode, but I think it's worthy. That's for sure. 75. This would be no surprise to anybody, especially if you're watching, because I flashed it on the screen accidentally because I have fat fingers. Favorite cards of 75 I called out as Herb Washington, Bert Campaneris, and Oscar Gamble. There you go. Oscar Gamble strikes again. The Bert Campaneris card was awesome because I think it's him depicting him sitting in a dugout at the Coliseum, and it's one of those cards I remember from my youth, and really liked it. But of course, 75, Mr. Herb Washington, 407. I've been corrected recently by Uncle Rich Klein in that there are three of these. There is the regular issue, there is the mini, and there's the OPG, and I need to get the OPG. Something fierce. So this card is, of course, Herb at first base, looking at the second, looking at the catcher. Purple top of the card, pink bottom of the card. Nothing's better than that. The A's are in some sort of urine yellow color at the top. Their name, the A's. Herb Washington delivers fabulously with a facsimile autograph across the bottom. The baseball that depicts his position, of course, says pinch run, and it's pinch run dot, short for runner, and Herb Washington's name below the bottom of the card. Love this card. This is one of those cards I remember from my earliest times in this hobby, and I just thought it was, from the get-go, the most unique card I had seen, and I still consider it the greatest common ever. Now, old Herb on the front of this picture is wearing a batting glove on his right hand. That's his bag tagging hand. So that's a bagging glove and not a batting glove. The backs of these 75 cards are gorgeous. Several colors. There's a salmon color. There's kind of a burnt orange color. There's a green color on a gray back, and then there's black ink and dark green ink and no color ink. It's just a great card. It's my favorite back of the 1970 decade. So Herb was 6'1". He weighed $170. He was a right-handed batter and a right-handed thrower. But what we know about Herb Washington is he did neither in the big leagues. He was born on 11/16/1950 in the metropolis of Belzonia, Mississippi. His home was in Flint, Michigan. Herb, of course, was a champion sprinter at Michigan State University. Card 407, Herbert Washington .PR, pinch runner. His major league stats comprise of 91 games, 29 runs scored, 28 stolen bases. He was caught stealing 16 times. Says at the bottom there, in his bio, signed by Oakland owner Charles Finley strictly for pinch running duties last season. Herb was personally responsible for winning 9 games for A's in 1974 with his speed. He's holder of world indoor records for the 50-yard dash, 5 seconds flat, and 60-yard dash, 5.8 seconds. There is a cartoon here. Of course, we all miss the cartoons on cards. This cartoon says, "What is a fungo?" And of course, a fungo is a fly ball hit to outfielder during fielding practice. And the outfielder, I believe, is performing a perfect 10 and sticking the landing of the ball into his glove imminently. So card 407, the greatest common card of all time. So I nailed that one. I'm doing pretty good here. My memory rocks. Moving on to 1974. 74 was a very interesting year for cards because 74, of course, had the first traded set. So you won't have to worry about any traded cards showing up here because they were pretty dull, if you ask me, that entire set. The ones I called out earlier this year, Frank Robinson, Vita Blue, and Sparky Anderson. Sparky Anderson card's pretty cool. It's him in the dugout, which is rare for an action shot of him in the dugout, which is rare for those manager cards back in the day. I have chosen a card again that has been with me since the beginning of my collecting time, as far as burned into my memory, and that is of course, the Hank Aaron, new all-time home run king card. I think it's a beautiful card. Hank smiling. Nice little crown drawn on there, Hank Aaron in lowercase, and then new all-time home run king in uppercase letters below that. An outfielder for the Atlanta Braves wearing those beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Atlanta Braves uniforms from the 70s with that little red lowercase a on a white field in front of a blue backing in the cap. So I probably described that in a way that nobody understood. So the back of the card is number 1, of course. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 would include pictures of Hank's cards from the get-go from 53 on up to 1972. And I always describe that as the first chance of getting to see some of those old cards. 75, of course, would show us the MVP cards, but 74 was the first time I saw those old Hank cards. Hank, of course, 713 home runs at the end of 73, 2,133 RBIs, already had 3,509 hits. He was a machine. No bio on the back here. I guess it speaks for itself. He was 6 foot, $180, batted right, threw right. He was born 2/5, 1934 in Mobile, Alabama. You could put an all-star team together just from Mobile, right? Between him and Willie McCovey and our boy over there in Chicago, Billy Williams, all that stuff. Great town. Home, Atlanta, Georgia. And it says, the cartoon says, Hank becomes baseball's all-time homer king in 1974. That was pretty bold, as I've said in the past. He was still 2 away from breaking the record, but Topps was all in there. So that one didn't make my top 3 previously, but I can't think of the 74 set without thinking of card number 1. Beautiful card front, beautiful card back. Hank Aaron, of course, greatest hitter in my lifetime, as I say. Retired, most runs scored, I believe, most home runs, most RBIs, all that stuff. He was just an incredible player. Let's move on, shall we, to the next year, which is 1973. 73 is a complete wild card. You're gonna love this one. My favorite cards were the action or the Hank Aaron card number 100, which shows him catching a pop-up, I guess, at first base at Veterans Stadium. Quite distinguishable in the back. There's card 380, which is Johnny Bench heading towards the Padres dugout for a foul ball catch. That's a beautiful action card. And then this one is what I've chosen for my favorite card right now, and that's the card number 542. It's Pat Corrales getting knocked over, elbows over whatchamacallits by Cleon Jones. And I believe Cleon Jones is out because that umpire looks like he's ready to throw something at Cleon Jones, and it's his fist, and he's calling him out. Pat, of course, is screaming in pain. He's got the ball in his hand. Cleon looks like he wants to break dance there or kick the ball or do something. So this is like catch your freaky deek ecstasy here. Pat Corrales wearing that mustard yellow uniform we all loved. It's got that great Topps catcher logo in the bottom right from the 1973 set where the catcher's just sticking his glove right out there. Pat Corrales, San Diego Padres. This is another beautiful back of card, if you ask me. 3-tone. We have our gray backs, we have our black ink, and we have our mustard yellow. Sign of the times for sure. This is a portrait back, just like 75 was. Card 542 says Patrick Corrales was 6 foot, weighed 195, batted right, throwed right. I have to say done throwed right. He was born 3/20, 1941 in Los Angeles, California, and his home was in Fresno, California. His bio says Pat tied a major league record September 29th, 1965, when he reached base 3 consecutive times on errors, twice on catcher's interference. He was voted PCL's best defensive catcher and the catcher with the best throwing arm at Tulsa in 1967. So quite a badass in the minor leagues there. Pat, of course, up to this point, only had 4 home runs after being in the majors for 8 years. 217 hitter at that point, 2 triples in his career, 26 doubles, and 151 hits up to that. The cartoon at the top, great cartoon again, says Pat led Sally League catchers with 10 double plays in 1963. So Pat was, again, a minor league stud. And this card proves it. What a great card. To get one of these landscape design on the front, portrait design on the back. Just bold and beautiful. All right, next way we're going here is 1972. We're going to 72. Biggest set ever made in history. Not really, but it felt like it, that's for sure. And if you've tried to complete it, you'll know what I mean. There is a lot of bloat in the set, but we've talked about that before, I think. My favorite cards were the 309 Roberto Clemente tossing the ball, the 310 Clemente in action taking a pitch, possible strike. There's been a lot of debate about that. Maybe there was, maybe he just had something in his eye, but he didn't look happy. And the 57 Bob Oliver, which has glove, jacket, and batting helmet, according to my notes. So undeniably, undisputably, the card number 309, Roberto Clemente, regular card, not his inaction one, is my favorite. He is there in those beautiful polyester pullover Pirates jerseys with the mustard yellow and black stripes on the shoulders, the mustard yellow helmet with the black visor, Pirates clearly and proudly crossing his chest, and a uniform that did not require a belt, just a couple snaps and a lot of elastic. Roberto is throwing a ball from his waist, and it's up around his neck, and it's just a beautiful card. Of course, we love that design from the 70s 2 set. Pirates are in an arch across the top in blue and orange. And Roberto Clemente, his name at the bottom. Thankfully, Topps got back to calling him Roberto in the 70s. This is, for those of you keeping score at home, the last card of his playing days. Of course, he would die later on that year at the end of the year. And 73, he would still have a card, but this was his final playing days card. Back of the card, that wonderful burnt orange on gray back with black ink. Card 309, Roberto Clemente, Pittsburgh outfielder. He was 5'11", 175, born 8/13, 1934, batted right, threw right. Home was in Rio, Piedras, Puerto Rico. Major and minor league batting record. At that point, he had 230 home runs, 1,245 RBIs, and he was a 318 hitter. He had 2,882 hits, so he would get that final 118 hits the next year and finish with 3,000 on the button. Scored 1,348 runs and is probably the most admired Pittsburgh Pirate player ever, especially by the those who live in Yinsville. They love him, and I don't think anybody doesn't like the guy. I think he's admired by all collectors and all fans of the sport for sure. There's a cartoon at the top that says, which famous novelist played minor league ball in I guess that's 1946, and an answer would be Zane Grey. Or maybe it's 1896. I guess it's 1896. So Zane Grey, it says. Yippee. So, Roberto Clemente, thank you for everything you've done for our hobby and everything you've done for baseball. Gone too soon, for sure, right? 71. It's time for 71, and this is a complete out of the dark thing for most of you guys, but it includes a subset. I guess what the third subset behind the Yaz Turn the Clock Back and the traded Oscar Gamble. I listed as card number 331, Brooks Robinson commits robbery, 525, Ernie Banks, and Manny Sanguillen, card number 480, which was him taking notes. Pretty cool stuff there. He's got a clipboard and a pen, and he's just kind of in his own world. Maybe he's doodling, maybe he's sketching. We don't know, but awesome card. I've chosen this time around the B. Robinson commits robbery. It's interesting card. 71, of course, is when we were introduced to the action shots on cards. And this was a tough decision between Thurman Munson and the Brooks card from the 1970 Game 5 World Series. But it's just a cool card. It looks like the photographer was in the upper deck. Looks like Brooks is wearing a catcher's mask, and it looks like Brooks' Robinson's on the beach, but really he's at third base. You can see where he's been dug in for most of the game. He went to his left to get a ball, hit hard to his left side, and he's scooped it up, and he's getting ready to show it. And that's why it makes it look like he's wearing a catcher's mask. There's no grass anywhere to be found. He just looks like he's in the middle of a desert. The back of the card, 331, is dark green, printed on a gray back. It says 1970 World Series game number 5 at Baltimore. And it has the stats from that game. And apparently Baltimore was taking it to him because there's not 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 pitchers, but the Reds actually threw 6 pitchers out there, 3 pinch hitters. And the lineups that day were Bobby Tolan, Pete Rose, Tony Perez, Johnny Bench, Lee May, Hal McRae. I believe it's Pat Corrales, Tommy Helms, Dave Concepcion, a gentleman named Merritt at pitching, another gentleman named Granger, another gentleman named Wilcox. There's a guy named Bravo who pinch hitted. Tony Cloninger probably pitched. Bernie Carbo was a pinch hitter. Washburn was your another pitcher, and Clay Carroll was another pitcher. 6 hits by the Reds that day in 32 at bats. Scored 3 runs. Lots of fun out there in the field. Tommy Helms with 4 assists. Perez with 3 assists. Perez, by the way, was playing third base, and Lee May was playing first base. So that's fun to look at. The Orioles just stuck 1 through 9, man. They didn't care. Mark Belanger, shortstop, Paul Blair, center field, Frank Robinson, right field, Boog Powell at first base, Merv Rettenman at left field, Brooks Robinson, third base, Davey Johnson at second base, the unibrow, Andy Etchebarren at catcher, and Mike Cuellar was the pitcher. They banged out 15 hits, 3 by Paul Blair, and 2 each by Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Merv Rettenman, and 3 by Davey Johnson. And boy, what a fun time it was to be a Baltimore Oriole. So that's 71. We're getting there. We're getting real close here. 1970 is another one of those awesome years. Great cards. I love the 70 cards. Doesn't get talked about enough. Sure, they're gray, but gray is my favorite color. I'm wearing a gray shirt. I'm wearing gray pants. I'm wearing gray in my beard right now. So the top cards I had that year in my top 3 with Mike and Ray were Reggie Jackson at 140, Hank Aaron at 500, and William McCovey, which was an uncorrected error, at 250. So, of course, I chose Reginald Martinez Jackson. Reggie is posing with a bag, kind of swinging that old A's sleeveless jersey. Green T-shirt underneath. Boy, what a beauty. That green cap with the white A's logo. Love it. His right arm looks like it's bigger than anything anywhere in this world. Reggie was quite a hitter, and of course he's right there in Yankee Stadium taking his little practice swing. Reggie Jackson, name written across the bottom, says outfield. At the bottom right, it says A's in the top right. What a great card. Love the gray borders. Back of the card is fun. It's white cardboard with blue. It's got yellow. It's got black. It's just one of my favorite backs of all time. This top's 140 card. Reginald M. Jackson, 6'2", 197, bats left, throws left, born 5/18/46 in Wyncote, PA. Reggie developed quickly into one of the major's top sluggers in 1969. At Arizona State in 1966, he hit .327, 15 home runs, and 68 RBIs. Was named to All-Western Athletic Conference, NCAA District 7, and college All-American first teams. In 1967, he set Southern League mark for triples, made All-Stars, and was Player of the Year. Reggie at that point was just coming alive. His 1969 season consisted of him scoring 123 runs, 36 doubles, 47 home runs, and 118 RBIs while batting .275. So he really did come into his own. 77 home runs up to that point, but that was a hold my beer. He did that season he had in Birmingham in 1967 was pretty impressive. He had 17 triples and 17 home runs and 58 RBIs in 114 games. 121 hits, too. Boy, that Reggie could play. His cartoon says Reggie had 10 RBIs in one game on 6/14/69. And there's a nice shot of 10 RBIs. Reggie just belting the ball somewhere out into the ozone layer. So that's it. That's my top 10 right there of the 1970 decade. So let's talk video responses. First of all, I'm completely inept in this whole thing. So if you do respond to this video and want to join this little contest, you'll have to tell me. Put it in the comments below with a link or something like that, because I don't know where I'll be able to find a share, because this will be fun. And I will randomly pick who wins this little item I'm giving away. And what am I giving away? It's something you all want, but it's something you probably would never buy. And what I'm talking about here is a 1978 Topps Mario Mendoza, card number 383, mint 9, PSA graded card. Mario Mendoza, he's got everything. He's got his batting helmet on top of his fielding cap. He's got his glasses. He's got his Dirty Sanchez mustache going, and there are some thick Pirates yellow, black, and white pinstripes. I guess yellow and black pinstripes on white. And Mario is a shortstop who's looking to kick some booty. Now, Mario, as we all know, is famous for the Mendoza line, which is 200. So in honor of my 200, passing the 200 subscriber plateau, and safely, I think I'm safely beyond that now. At least I was before this episode. I'm going to give this card away, right? So Mario gets a bad rap. He finished hitting well above 200 at 215, but he's essentially judged on his first of all, he played 9 years in baseball, so good for him, with the Pirates, the Seattle Mariners, and the Texas Rangers. Traded in 78, or the end of 78, early 79 to Seattle. Mario didn't look back on Pittsburgh and played in 148 games, career high 401 plate appearances, career high 373 at bats, career high 74 hits, 10 doubles, tied his career high at 3 triples, and hit one of his 4 major league home runs that year too. And of course, drove in 29 of his teammates with 373 at bats. But he finished the season at 198, which we've all come to realize is the 2 points or 2 percentage points below the Mendoza line. Mario would bat 198 in 1977, 185 in 1976, 180 in 1975. That's off his freshman campaign of 221, where he really was on fire. His career high average was 245 in 1980, where he hit half of his career home runs. So, yippee for me, 200 plus subscribers. I've beat the Mario Mendoza, and now it's ready to go into someone else's hands. So what I want you guys to do, and gals, is show me some of your favorite cards from the 70s. It can be 1 card, it can be 5 cards, it can be 10 cards, whatever you want. Depends on how much time you have on your hand. Show your favorite cards from the 70s. Don't show all of them, but show your cards from the 70s, and you will be put into the you'll be just another ping pong ball that I'll draw out of the fishbowl. So we'll give that maybe I don't know, till October 1st. We'll see what happens. Again, comment and let me know if you've responded. If nobody responds, which is what I'm hoping for, I get to keep this card. So again, a whopper of a card, 78 Topps Mario Mendoza, card number 383, mint condition, PSA 9 in the slab. It also comes with a superior fit sleeve too. So that's that. Thanks for joining me in my journey back in time. Thank you, Dylan, for the inspiration. Thanks everybody for helping me learn more about this hobby and about the 70s and all that fun, glorious stuff there. If you have a comment or suggestion, again, drop me a line at ThatSeventiesCardShow@gmail.com, Twitter at 70sCard, and YouTube, ThatSeventiesCardShow. Thanks again to Mango Safari for your music on the podcast, and enjoy your collecting. And more importantly, please, please, please enjoy your collection. Have a great day. Have a great week. Later, Gators.